the start is you just kind of like, you just list all your tattoos first and you get them in order and you try and sort of get the right timestamp so you can see it all like a ledger. Then you sort of start excavating them, dig it up. And then depending on whether someone's in a process where they are covering or changing things, usually you'll find more when you're doing that. So like first pass, you might go like, this is this, this is this, this is this. But as you sort of start to approach each one at the right time, when it's actually got some significance or relevance to what you're going through, there might be something that's coming up in your life and you might start paying more attention to a particular tattoo.
Hey guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Putting a tattoo on is like, I'm showing you who I am. I'm a badass or whatever it is. Like I'm going to look this way. I have to ask you a question because this, I don't know. I have you on here. I'm utilize it. I have a tattoo, right? That I actually love the meaning. I believe in it. It is me. However, when I asked the tattoo artist to do it, the way that it came out, and it's not their fault. It's just that it came out, the person on here came out more masculine, and I was showing like a one-line woman that I wanted something much more like feminine-ish, right? But the message is cool, and it's on this part here. I don't know if you can see it, and it says, "Here am I, send me." Right, so that's a scripture. I don't know if you can see it. It's like here. Wait, oh no.
Oh yeah, there's a flower.
But see how it like looks like? What does it say? Here am I, send me, and that's like a hand underneath it. But I felt like the woman, it's so much more masculine looking. Like I was seeing like a woman with much like longer hair and just like more. I feel like it looks like a man, like structurally like this. So I like what it's saying. Wait, am I not? I'm trying to get myself.
And I can see it. Yeah, that's good.
So it's so like if you want something and you have an image in your mind of it, and let's say someone else creates it, which is obviously could happen, and it has other elements to it. Do you think that's symbolic too? Because I've thought of that. I'm like, maybe this statement that I'm making is more of a masculine energy, like more of like this bold statement, where I'm seeing it as very feminine because I feel very feminine, but then like it is a really bold statement. Like, who shall I send?
Yeah.
Here am I, you send me, I'll go out in the wilderness and fight, what the hell it is. But it is a little more masculine, right? The idea.
I guess it is. It is, yes. That that's another layer that's there. And it's how you relate to it and the process that you go into with it is important to look at. So
that's true.
Hearing you have that reflection, that's great. There's a layer where it's like same with the other one you showed me. It's like you're very zoomed in on what they are, and I don't want to unpack things too much.
You're afraid you'll expose the shit out of me or something, like, and be like, "What did you say?"
No, it's more like I'm trying to do less of that. I'm happy to do it. Well, I'm happy to do it with you. It's funny, like my wife actually said to me after one of the other podcasts that I did, because I sort of can't help it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
People are talking about their tattoos, and I just see different patterns and stuff in it,
But you want to talk about something else, right? Because is that what it is? Another broader...
No.
Yeah? No?
No, I mean, I'm just trying to speak into it in a way where it's like I'm going to give everyone some like insight into it, and we're not just like
no.
lasering in and dissecting your ones,
Yeah.
fully. But I'd say that there is like
with psycho,
there's like women. It's like
no psychodrama, like they do that so that like people witness one person like going through something and then like they get transformed. I'm not trying to get you to what's my tattoos. Seriously, I want to hear what you want to say to them. I'm like, yeah.
There's this tendency for us to really zoom in and isolate each tattoo.
Yeah. Okay.
So we go like this tattoo and this tattoo and this tattoo and this tattoo, and this is what this means, and this is what this means, and this is what this means, and this is how I feel about this one, and this is how I feel about this one. Right?
Yeah.
Where, like we were saying, if we just rewind a little bit, is it's just one tattoo.
I love that.
It's just one process. So every time you're getting tattooed, you're just picking up where you left off and doing the same process. And if you can zoom out and you start to string it together in that way, that every time you go in, you're just taking another step in this same process. And the whole process is a gradual building and representing and meeting and coming into who you are, right? And that version of you that you're moving towards is probably something that's beyond what you readily have awareness of.
Yeah.
If you're green and growing,
you're
in a place where it's like you want to be moving and forming towards something.
Oh,
and then you understand that the process should be done with a orientation that's considerate of something beyond yourself. Yeah, so I use like language, the OGP, the original greater power. You might use the word God dying off your tattoos, but we understand there's something beyond ourselves that when we start working into our body in a way that's intentional, we acknowledge beyond here and now, beyond self. So we start to move into a place of going like, okay, I'm getting tattooed and I want to represent who I am, and I'm humble enough to say that I don't fully know who that is, but I want to come into like more contact with reality. I want to better myself. I want to let go of all the things that are kind of limiting me. I want to be guided towards that. And tattooing can be this type of a process, right? When we do that, then we're starting to let go of ourselves. We're starting to let go of ourselves. We're not going into a process that's, like I said, self-idealizing or starting to like feel our processes with these ideas of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're going into a process of going like, actually, I want to come in unencumbered when it comes to what the tattoo is. I want to come in and really look at what it is that's bringing me into this space of going like, okay, I'm ready to acknowledge that I'm in a place where I'm going to change now. Right now, I'm actually going to utilize this process and go like, this is highly, highly significant. This is a massive elevated space. It's not every day. Yeah. I'm going to make this space something that's extremely important, and I'm ready to acknowledge beyond myself and record contractually a step and a movement towards who it is that I potentially could be. That's a huge thing. That's very different.
Yeah.
Every time you're getting tattooed, it's in that relationship, it's in that dynamic. And so in between your tattoos, then there's usually these very active processes and passages that are happening where the tattoo ends up sort of adding a layer of navigational assistance to your walk through your life. And so the whole process of getting tattooed totally drops out of that place of, like we were saying, this layer that's like on the surface, a bit more on the surface, a bit more of this bobbing around on the surface, like what it is that tattooing is at all. And it very quickly sinks and becomes really, really deep, a really deep undercurrent of exploration of yourself and representation of yourself and coming into being. So instead of adding layers, this is another one. It's like a lot of people get tattooed and it's like adding a layer. So this is who I am, or this is who I think I am. And a lot of the time it's like it can be adding, which is a concealment of yourself. You add a layer of concealment.
Cover.
Whereas as soon as you let go of that, as soon as that changes, it starts becoming a revealing. So the tattoo starts becoming like it's taking things off. And so you get tattooed, and again, using the comfortability, the shoe fit.
Yeah.
You're not getting the tattoo that looks and feels good now and gives you instant satisfaction. You're going into the process and going like, actually, give me the shoe that fits or the shoe that I'm meant to grow into. And that can be uncomfortable because you're removing layers of comfort. You're removing layers of what you already know.
Yes.
Even if that's not the most accurate representation of who you are. You're removing those things and being introduced into something.
So could you I love this because everything that's intentional is just perfect. But so could you just give an example? Because I'm just trying to think what kind of a person, me or anyone walking in, to have a tattoo, how would that play out? I understand it's an internal experience, right? You're saying that you're exploring where am I going? Who do I want to be? That kind of thing. But then what is the actual process? An example of something that somebody might put on their body. Because what's really very simplistic. It's easy for me to say a sentence, a word, right? But what would you put? I've put things on me that feel very comfortable, instant gratification, but they're where I'm going. So I want to hear an example. What would be something not comfortable but growing?
With something that's not comfortable. I guess, it's like you've got some, you've already got target there beyond self, right? So it's like you're getting things and they're, there's an accuracy to them. So they feel good now, but at the same time, they're a little bit beyond. So there's a layer for you where it's like you said, looks are really important to you. You want things to look right and feel right now. And so there's a layer of you managing that for yourself so that they feel good now. But you're also linking them to something that's, your overarching target. There's a layer of significance there for you as well, right? If we started to map all of your tattoos, we could probably pull out things that are a pattern between them that are showing up. Whereas if we viewed it as one, we might sort of move through some of those things. But an example of one that doesn't fit well, a lot of the time it's just people not having that sense of meaning. And they're looking for that in something else and the target's going to shift on them when the meaning isn't actually anchored in something beyond themselves. That's when it starts to people end up with things that are regretful or that they move away from really quickly.
So it's something that they're connected to at that time and then they're not connected to it, right? As they grow.
Yeah. And there's different sort of almost archetypes in how people respond. The main one that causes regret is people getting tattooed between 18 and 25. So they don't really know who they are yet. They're going through a lot of changes and exploration.
Yeah.
There's the rebel archetype, where it's they want to get tattooed just to be able to experience that they can choose.
Mm.
They can choose what they do to themselves and who they are and that sort of thing, or to fit in, like a club member archetype.
Yeah.
I get this one because it's symbolic of the people that I currently feel connected to.
Yeah.
In that point of time. That's a simple one where it's they get the tattoo. It feels really good in that point in time because it's playing a particular role for them. But then as time goes on, they're going to grow and change. And, they might not feel connected to those people anymore and they might not feel the same way about that rebellious choice that they made. you know. I think, look, the biggest thing when I'm working with someone that's different, that, you know, a lot of people find it hard to get access to, is that when you come together, there's your energetic field and your reasons, you know, your intention, your path, and then there's the person that you're working with as well, and together you're creating something together. And so, like, having a cohesive comprehension of the process is a thing that's tricky to navigate, because our access to tattooing is really, really high. You know, there's tattoo studios everywhere. When someone thinks of getting tattooed, they probably don't think of any other way except going into a tattoo shop.
Yeah. Right. They don't.
So that's like, you know, that's the point of access for people to get tattooed. And it's that particular space, I'm not saying everyone in there, but that space has a very superficial grasp on what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, the industry does.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you
Yep.
were to describe what you do, like if someone, could we call it something? I mean, I'm going to butcher this, but you'll clean it up, I'm sure. But like the idea that like this intentional tattooing it's almost like a therapeutic process. Like it's creative,
Yeah.
but it's creating your being. It's like that kind of, you know, it's creating your life, right?
Yeah. Therapeutics one layer as well. Like the path actually just did some YouTube on this because people are starting to use the word therapy, like tattoo therapy and therapeutic tattooing more regularly now.
Okay.
There's that's popping up in places. So I did a bunch of videos that sort of speak to it and unpack it a bit, because I've gone through this myself, right? From the start, it was like art. Yeah. Then I started waking up and I was like, hey, what am I doing? I need to pay more attention. So it became intentional tattooing, right?
Yes.
You know, why am I tattooing people? What's the intention? Then it was like, what is the actual impact? What's the lived experience? So what's happening to people?
Yeah.
That's when it went from intentional to therapeutic. So it's like, hey, if we pay attention, this thing happens. There's change on multiple levels. Yeah. Very observable change that happens. So it's a therapeutic modality. It can be used in a way that aids and restores and rectifies and prevents different things. Okay. So there is a therapeutic layer. But then the next layer, which is where I sit now, which is like the biggest returning to, I think it's kind of like proper place, is that it's something that's actually sacred. Okay. So it's like moving into this layer of, like I was saying, alignment well beyond self. Okay. So it's not like Western biomedical therapeutic.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at like medicinal from the lens of the complete porous nature of all of these different parts of who we are and our experience. You know, that every human's built on the same lattice. Yeah, the same scaffolding.
Right.
That's what the human's on.
Yeah.
And then that same lattice is actually our whole experience as well. And we're working into that thing. We're working into our bodies. We're working into our psychology. We're working into like who we are in this space. And it's, you know, ignorant if it's something that's unknown, or arrogant if it's known, but we sort of like think we know better, to not go into a relationship that's really deep there and sort of acknowledge that there's probably some power beyond us that we can engage with, you know, or is actively engaging and trying to get your attention through the process that you're going through life at the time, you know. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting thing when you start looking at all of the tattoos that show up externally as this representation of the internal, you know, the thing that's like the deepest in us and also like the furthest away. And that the skin actually is this interface. The skin's the interface. It's this thing in between our whole internal experience and our whole external experience. It's literally this is the veil here, right? At the end of the day, this whole experience is choice, right? So I could say to someone, probably not a good idea to get SpongeBob tattooed on you, on your neck
God.
right now. And they might be like, that was really good advice. I'm glad I didn't get SpongeBob on my neck. Or they might be like, I'll do whatever I want. I'm going to go get SpongeBob on my neck. And it's like, there's totally someone that would do that for you at this point in time. So you have the choice,
Yes.
Do
You think that when you tattoo someone that, and I think I hear you saying this, and I think I believe it, is that it's all right. Obviously, it's so powerful. You think that it's like almost like a proclamation into the future, like it's communicating. Like I understand people see it and that's a communication, but that's like on one level. But energetically, to make a decision to like, when they talk about like a signature is cast energetically, like, sound waves never end. So that the words we choose,
Yeah.
right? Be impeccable with your words. Like the words that go out have power and they're creative, just like our thoughts. Is it also true? I mean, maybe we have to figure it out, but like that these things that we put on us are signatures that we're casting out into the frequency around us.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely. Yeah.
Thank God it
Completely.
isn't anything like horrible on me.
Yeah. And people do. It's full on. I've seen all sorts of situations.
Huh.
Evil stuff, sure, yeah. And then we start getting into like, possession or subjugation from sort of like, intermediary forms of intelligence that people are associated with. There's those layers as well, lots of that. And then, like I said, there's also just people making choices with like little awareness. Like one of my friends, I've tattooed a bit now. I always laugh because he had like a symbol, a Japanese symbol that he thought said chief, and it said criminal, and he ended up getting put in jail, and he had no awareness of that. Found out in jail that it said the wrong thing by one of his cellmates, and we ended up changing that one and sort of like reversing the energetic charge. You have to sort of null and void it by putting something back there. So little influences like that take place all the time.
And that's incredible. That I believe that, like in myself, that it's just like everything after I am identifies us, right? So him that being on his body, do you think it was influential in him being in jail? Is that what you're saying? Like,
Oh, completely.
yeah,
Completely.
yeah.
It's like, again, just looking at the historical use, you see it. You see its use. And it's like there's magic and spells and amuletic tattoos and like all these things exist and have very real impact on people in different places. Again, it's just kind of like our globalized culture that lacks a lot of substance, or things that are of substance kind of like get disregarded as unintelligent and stuff these days. It moves people away from it,
Tattoo with caution, with awareness.
I say like get tattooed, like don't get tattooed, and that's because that's speaking to the isolation of tattooing, like we've already talked about, So, like we founded the Tattoo Pathway, so it doesn't look at tattooing in isolation, So, I said if people think first, tattoo never, and that's just like tongue in cheek to move them towards understanding it's more of a pathway of receiving tattoos. So your first tattoo, if someone's going to get their first tattoo, like what do you ask someone who's going to get their first tattoo? What would you say? It's like, what's your last tattoo going to be? I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well then, you need to think about it more, because you don't want to start something without having at least the contemplation of where you're going with it and what the end result is. It's like you don't start building a house just because you want to like have a door frame, right? And you're building something that needs to serve particular functions and that you need to live in. for the rest of your life. So having like a project overview that can change and understanding where you're going is really important. And so, I end up doing a lot of this in the consultation stuff with people where it's like, I've been building a house for 5 years and I got no idea what it is that I'm building, or like why I'm still getting smashed by the weather. And it's like, you're missing like half your roof, mate. It's obvious, right? So just going into that and trying to create some type of structure and guidance and framework for people that are getting tattooed, because there's a lot of them and they've got none. So that's kind of the tattoo pathway's main sort of angle.
I think that's the way most people get tattooed, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, I did for like 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I was getting tattooed like that for ages. And I'm still course correcting. So you said like, you're talking about signatures, casting out and that sort of thing. It's like, a picture tells 1,000 words, right? Then a symbol can actually consolidate and distill 1,000 pictures, right? Then a tattoo, a lot of tattoos are symbols. A tattoo is worth like 1,000 symbols, because there's all of these other layers of biomechanics and stuff that start to come in that are full on. But
wow.
Yeah, I got tattooed for a long time, and the process that I'm currently in has been the most informative. So like when other tattooists try and pick my brain about this sort of thing, or they want to learn something, I'm pointing them to look at their own tattoos, because you learn the most about the process through your own tattoos. And I'm still course correcting. What I've worked out is like, you come into a tattoo session and this is your one way. And if you, like you said, time doesn't really exist, it's just now. But let's say in the now, if we were to project forward, you have a current trajectory that's laid ahead of you. Okay. And every choice you make sure has like a little bit of an influence on it. But tattooing elevated is like you're consciously choosing to acknowledge something can go through a physical change. You to the degree you're going to cut your body open, right? And you're going to add ink into your body, right? And so there's this layer again. It's like you can look at it used in the past, and it's like, well, there's this rite happening. There's like a ritual and a ceremony happening a lot of the times. We ignore that aspect, and it's not curated, so it's not a legitimate rite or ceremony. But we're still doing something that falls into this layer of like a blood process. We're coming into like on a cellular and DNA level, we're going like, we're willing to open ourselves up, cut ourselves open, and add in these elements of carbon, that hold information now. So think about what that does to your trajectory before then. It's going to change it, right? It's going to alter everything. And so this idea of it being a pathway is like getting people to understand that. So it's like every time I do that, every time I open my body and I add to this, I'm going to try my best to let go of all of my my selfish engagement, and try and move beyond that and call something into the experience and develop a relationship with this thing beyond me that's, I can't even fathom, and give myself and it the opportunity, allow this to be an invitation for real guidance, so that alter my trajectory in the way that's optimal.
Yes.
And then the result of that is you get moved through a passage until the next moment in time where that seems appropriate. Another thing I sort of say to people, just to keep loading this up, is like, on timing, is not to get tattooed because you want to get tattooed. Yeah. So as soon as you drop into these levels of contemplating it, it should be that it's time to get tattooed. There should be like a different layer of knowing that it's time to get tattooed. And that's like, not just that, you know why you're doing it, but life dictates that it's actually opening and allowing you to make it happen too. If like you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the space, don't add pressure, don't push things.
Right.
It can take a long time as you approach a tattoo for that sort of thing to open up and present that moment. Like, this is obviously it right now.
Yeah.
Stars have aligned, so to speak. I've been thinking about it for a long time. This is really obvious. I'm getting all of these nudges from my experience that are sort of like confirming it. And this has showed up, and cool. Now's the time to do that thing. And once you experience that, it can also cause like these healthy layers of apprehension. That's when you know something's really poignant. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that again. I moved a lot of stuff last time. But you just keep leaning into it.
Do you feel like after you have a tattoo, you have it, you have experiences related to that in some way, or just forever?
Yeah, it's still unfolding for me. Like I said, I'm still course correcting. I've got 10 years of tattoos that I'm trying to understand the impact of, where they moved me to. The parts of my experience that are probably still being influenced by it, but I'm actively engaging with it in that way. So, it's a good thing. And this is it. Like, all is as it should be. There's that layer too, where it's like, okay, I'm here now, and these things are happening, and all the tattoos that I've decided to get up until this point are actually so valuable. There's like, if you choose. So like, if you flip that switch and you turn around and you look at what it is that you've done, it's like there's this well of information and wealth there that you can extract that's super useful. Which is, that's why I say to most people, it's like your tattoos actually can become this, like, depending on how many you got as well, depending how much is there, but it's like they can become like one of the most potent tools for growth and development for people, and cultivating relationship to that thing beyond us as well. So into the spiritual paradigm, understanding what that is, there's lots of opportunity to understand our relationship to things in that sort of realm, that spiritual realm, and to make sense of the different sort of layers and tiers there. Like you were saying, it's like, what if someone's got some really evil stuff? It's like, you can look at that, and then you can also look at like what's the thing that's like ultimately that sort of guiding star kind of analogy. What's the thing that's actually moving you through it and providing some type of security through that?
Hey, guys, how are you? Isn't that amazing? This story that we're hearing on this show is great. I want to just give a shameless plug of my book. I would really want people to have a good look at my book and to understand what it really is. I used to be ashamed to plug my book, and then I realized, how is that right? To keep the information, the 30 years of experience that I have, the 8 years of education, the trauma that I grew out of and learned how to manage, and how to manage emotion, all the training I've had in neuroscience and quantum physics. How can I keep that from the public? So it's not, I used to think it was like something I should, be humble about, but being humble is silly when you're keeping things away from people that they need. So what I want to tell you about my book, and I hope that you do get it, because I think it will really help you. I've gotten a lot of tremendous feedback about my book, and that it's really, really of great value to a lot of people. And what it is, it's an interactive read, and there's inside of it, there's journal entries. So as I'm teaching and going through the book and teaching you how to create the life you want by understanding how you're wired, how your thoughts, feelings, how your words, how thoughts are things, and the neuroscience behind it, and how we are programmed from the time we're 0 to 7 years old to live a life of mediocrity or a life of poor design because of meaning that we attached to events when we were children that just became our programming. What I want to tell you is that there is a way out, and it's a simple way. It's very simple. I believe in the simplicity and the grace in healing, and that it doesn't have to be a big work. So I would love it if you'd get my book. It's a best-selling book on Amazon, and it's my first. And I encourage you to get it. It's called The Wake Up Call, an interactive read for building the life you want. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thanks so much for being on the show, and let's get back to it. I didn't know it until we talked. I feel like I'm always in this more of like receptive mode with these tattoos, more like I feel like I'm getting information. Even though I'm putting it on my body, I'm getting this information. It's like it's to me from source, God, whatever. Like, I feel like it's not like I'm putting it out there, but I am. But it's also led. Right?
And there's definitely that aspect, so it's like we said, there's the record keeping, then there's the navigational assistance. And so understanding those two pieces where it's like, you're being given things to look at. And the more you can cultivate that layer, the more you can receive through the process. The space is important too, though. The space is important too, trying to finding someone that can sort of do the work for you, that gets it as well.
Yes. Well, my tattooing experience will be different. For sure.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you?
I'm in New York, USA. Yeah. You're in Australia.
Yeah, but I think there's a handful of people in the States that get it too. Okay.
Yeah. It's cool. That's really cool. Now I'm thinking like, what could we do here? Because I have counseling centers. Like, what could we do here? Like, is there a therapist who could do something like that with clients?
Yeah. So Tattoo Pathway, if you like afterwards, if you want to have a look, and this is the same for like people listening and whatnot, so we have a community space. In that space, we got like coursework for people, and depending on what someone does, it's like there is professional development opportunities there. So it's like I said, I'm working with people that tattoo other people and trying to sort of help reframe and move them in, like kind of doing an unschooling process, like forget what tattooing is. You got to stop tattooing so you can start tattooing, type of thing. But there's also the layer of like, we're developing pilot programs for, say, schools, and also trialing some stuff with people that are clients and have gone through the work with me, that are therapists.
Wow.
So there's that layer of like allowing a understanding that's beneficial in unpacking things with clients through their tattoos. It's like obviously people can sort of like run with that themselves, pay attention to someone's tattoos. But if you kind of want like I said, with the archery example, if you want to know the 500 variables to like be on target, that's something that we want to go into with more people. Like I want therapists that understand it, because the tattoo, the person doing the tattoo isn't always going to have capacity to be a therapist, right? And then the therapist a lot of the time won't have the skill set to take someone through a process of getting tattooed. So if someone's doing this stuff, a lot of the time they are going to need more of a network around them.
Yeah.
And I think the real important thing is that the therapist and the person doing the tattoo and the person that they're working with have have the same language. They're using the same frameworks so they can understand what's actually going on there. So, that's something we're working towards. It's early days, but if you're interested or someone that, you work with is, just push them in this direction and we can start to work towards that.
So how does everybody here, first of all, thank you. This was such a
Thank you.
informative, but a different kind of informative conversation. Because I speak to a lot of people, and and it's just like very, it just shows like I'm always be a novice, always be growing and learning. Because I feel like there's so many areas we don't just even think about, and this just opened me up to. I always think things are deeper, but not in the way that it's just so true. I love what you shared. So I'm just gonna. How many times do I take a shot? I don't even look at what's on my fucking arms, and they're so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, you would have a lot of fun with them if you dropped in and did some of the activities we have.
You have
You
activities.
start.
You tell us how to tell us all. Teach us.
It's just the tattoo pathway. Tattoo pathway is the tattoo pathway.
You know, it's funny. And Aussie, is that how we say it? Aussie? An Aussie? Is that what you want?
Aussie.
Aussie.
Yeah.
Tattoo. Tattoo. And we say tattoo. So it sounds funny to you, right? Tattoo.
Yeah. So it's tattoo pathway.
Yeah.
And we have a community on there, a community space on Circle. And there's sort of weekly engagements and activities. We've gone that way because after running the course, we've run the course a bunch of times. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. It's too heady. So now people just join this community. The coursework sort of sits there as a textbook. So there's all of this resource material that people get access to.
Yeah.
But the community is just kind of like having these weekly engagements that do things like mapping your tattoos or symbolic play, unpacking different symbols and stuff like that. And there's also walkthroughs for people on how to get tattooed that references the material. And if people are like bringing things up in their processes when we're chatting, we can reference that material. But it's just to get people actually engaged with the material and with their tattoos. That's why we're doing the community stuff.
Your coursework, you're saying it's just too much, like it's so deep. Is that what it is? Like it's the way I feel like I have to go take a nap.
Yeah, we just found that there's big drop-offs once people have to start doing things like mapping their tattoos.
Oh, I would love to do that though. I think that's really cool. It's like
Yeah.
so cool.
It is cool. I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years now, and I haven't finished mapping my tattoos.
But like you're writing about them. I mean, I know I am. So you'll talk
at the start is you just kind of like you just list all your tattoos first, and you get them in order, and you try and sort of get the right timestamp, so you can see it all like a ledger. Then you sort of start excavating them.
Excavating.
Yeah, digging up what's there. Yeah, dig it up, and then depending on whether someone's in a process where they are covering or changing things, usually you'll find more when you're doing that. So like first pass, you might go like, this is this. But as you sort of start to approach each one at the right time, when it's actually got some significance or relevance to what you're going through, and this is part of the process, is that there might be something that's coming up in your life, and you might start paying more attention to a particular tattoo. You might sort of find a thread of correlation.
Do you think it the future?
You think you can tell the future?
Think
Did you say?
Like give you messages about your future tattoos?
Well, if you think about it as like you're carrying around a USB stick with all of this information, it's definitely influencing what's going to show up in your experience because that information's there. So there's a layer like that for sure. Again, we can go real funny with the time thing and start sort of,
I am I want to apologize because I feel like I am totally taking you hostage. I apologize to your family or wherever you're supposed to go, any meeting you were supposed to have. I was like, I wasn't sure what kind of conversation we were going to have. I studied you, but then I couldn't understand it. So I was like, okay, so can you tell these lovely people, like you have a podcast also. So tell us what that is, where people can find you, which you said that tattoopathways.com, but what's your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is Tattoos with Intention podcast. Started that a while ago. It's kind of been on and off, but last year and this year, since Tattoo Pathway started, we've kind of married them a little bit. So it's, once a month we put up a podcast. I interview some people. I do some solo episodes. And then Taylor, who's our research lead at Tattoo Pathway, she also puts up some interviews. Like the last one, I think we put it up yesterday or the day before, was Taylor interviewing Dr. Daniel Franz, who's like a logotherapist, counselor, addiction specialist, about meaning, so trying to correlate meaningful living to meaningful tattoos. That was a real interesting one. And yeah, the podcast is like a free tier of information for people that are just like, this is interesting. I want to consume some more of it and understand it more. Kind of like yourself, it's hard to really get your head around it just by having a flick on a web page or something. You need to have this sort of like dialogical exposure, and then you're like, oh yeah, wow, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I understand that little piece.
Yeah.
So the podcast is there for that. YouTube also, like I said, I've put a couple of things up there.
What is that?
And I'm going to do more. YouTube's Tattoo Pathway as well, the channel Tattoo Pathway. Yeah.
I have a special.
So you go.
I think I can't help it. I think you should, on your podcast, I think you should have people come on and you just like analyze their tattoos. People would be fascinated.
Yeah.
I do.
They would.
I think they would love it. But just my.
Is this the psychodrama you were talking about?
Because this is such a big thing. Tony Robbins does it. You'd be with 6,000 people. He'll spend an hour and a half with a person going through trauma and stuff in their life. Everybody's there watching, but everybody's getting something out of it. So like, it's all applicable. So like, when I'm asking a question about me, I'm asking for everyone. Because then people will be like, wow, never thought of it that way. And it just, I put this on because it's my child. How many people put stuff on their body because of their children? It could also be guilt. Like I have some guilt with this son. I have concern for him. I want to prove I love him. Like, so people will hear that and they'll be like, oh, I have my baby's feet on there. What is that about? Like it's so like, I feel like you'd really draw in some people, like just being like, wow, that's fun.
It's interesting. Hey, yeah. I mean, for sure we could. In June, we're actually going to go speak at this conference, the Afterlife Convention. And they're like, okay, so what are you going to speak about? And I'm trying to get words for it, but basically correlate it to the afterlife. And then they said, do you want to do something in our workshop space? And so I was talking to Taylor and my wife about it, and we're going to do live mapping. So like, I guess that's kind of what you're talking about, so go through some people's tattoos with them and sort of try and help them draw some insights that they haven't before. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
See you pulling somebody. Hey, who in this audience, who's got a lot of tats? Come on up here. Come on. I need a volunteer. Get up here. That would be so cool. Let me see. Pull it up. Somebody who's like, maybe like muscular and doesn't mind taking off their shirt, or just like, all right, buddy, what's this about? That would like really, I would love to watch that.
Yeah. I guess it's also like proceeding with caution as well. It's like, because it can be some really sensitive stuff there in blind spots. Hey.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have volunteered.
Yeah, true. And just trust the process.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Off.
if someone wants to do that though, it's like I can do that like this via Zoom with people
Right.
if they want to sort of unpack. Which we try and like the community space is like trying to get people to do it collectively. It's a sort of supportive space for that, and it's not too raw. But
You're a little kinder.
I can do it one on one. Yeah, I can do it one on one. But yeah, so basically we got the podcast, we got YouTube. That we're trying to put as much there as we can for people that are in a position where they want to consume more, but don't. You're not in a position to fully lean in.
Yeah.
Then there's the community, which is like that's where pretty much all my time and energy is getting placed for people that want to talk about this stuff. That's my allocation because I've got family life and I'm tattooing people. But then for like everyone else, it's like I'm to consolidate it. The community's there. Otherwise, I end up on like lots of phone calls with people and talking about stuff. So we're trying to like get that community space for people to unpack stuff and go through the coursework, and I do a little bit of like mentee stuff with artists there. So that's kind of like a paid space for people that want that. Like there's plenty there for people that aren't ready to lean into that, but for people that want to, it's like super accessible and lots of fun and really deep.
It's another beautiful way to like another avenue, just like there's all this different kind of therapeutic stuff, right? So it's like a really
yeah.
And everybody, everybody's different. So I think somebody, expanding and growing like that could be really unique to who they are. And, I think it's just good, the music therapy or, art therapy.
Yeah.
It's like a different.
Yeah. I think you'd enjoy the tattoo therapy series I put up. You should have a what's that on. And then it's like, because it seems to be the space you're in, it's like, yeah, anyone that's in that therapeutic space that maybe has tattoos themselves or works in a particular sort of niche where people have tattoos. I think about like incarceration. It'd be a really awesome place for people to have this information if you're working with inmates, because there's usually like a pretty solid breadcrumb trail for them if they want to sort of take self-responsibility to start addressing things.
I'm in an entrepreneurial group. It's called Arate. There's about, I think there's like 1,800 of us, but it's predominantly male, but I want to say 70-30. But when I tell you there is no one, like every guy is tatted. Like they're all entrepreneurs, and it's run by Andy Frisilla and Ed Milet. So basically, and they're tatted. Like, yeah. So, and they probably, a lot of the people from Arte probably listen. So I can see, and they're all into personal development and growth and, business, whatever. So I just think there's such big communities like that are even just like people that's,
Number one tool. If someone's in that space, tattooing like so easily can eclipse everything and become the number one tool if you're actually doing that self-development stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't escape it. You can't choose to do it one day and not the next. You can't pick it up and put it down.
Yeah.
It's like all in, and most people are already all in. They've got so much skin in the game they don't even realize. And so it's like you want to get a return on investment.
Let me do pun intended, no skin in the game,
Get in the game. Yeah.
Right?
Skin's already in there. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like if you want your return on investment, that's the way I'm framing it for people.
Well, that is cool.
It's like you've already invested a lot.
Yeah.
So take stock of what's there. Have a look at it.
It's like not looking at your bank account. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, this is the crazy thing. We already talked about it. It's like one of the two functions is record keeping. It's about remembering something. And people forget what their tattoos. They forget that they're tattooed. We're like, oh, I forgot I got that tattoo. It's like, yeah, well, how good's your relationship with that thing that's meant to allow you to remember something?
So true. That's so true. I'm going to baby my tattoos tonight. I'm going to take care of them and have a look at them.
Give them a little bit of oil.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to do that, tune in, like even just tune in with one, take a moment and just close your eyes and first bring in the body intelligence and actually feel the footprint of the tattoo in your skin. So actually try and feel the weight of it in your body first so that you come into that actual physical location. And then you can start to go into like, you know, however you'd guide it for yourself. But, you know, where was I and what was happening and what was being locked in at that time? What was I thinking about at that time? What was that version of me at that time? And excavate it. Start, what's the most relevant thing in this tattoo for me now?
Wow.
Yeah.
My one tattoo says one thing remains. I could go far on that shit. Over the river and through the woods. I'm going.
You got lots of fuel there.
Yes. Mr. Mark?
Yes, Alison.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your time and receptivity and listening. I hope that your audience finds some value in it.
Yes. And I just want to encourage everyone who's listening to, you know, usually people who listen here are deep thinkers and you want to expand and grow. And this is just another way that we can, you know, increase our consciousness and really, really learn about ourselves and how we relate to the universe. And I just think that I'm asking you to take the opportunity and notice, you know, what's on your skin and just what he said. It's just what this guy said. But please, you know, look into what Mark is doing and also like, subscribe, share. If you know people who are tattooed or even like people who are tattooed and troubled, that could be a little line for you. Tattooed and troubled. We have the answer. Anyhow, tattooed and troubled. So like and send this to them so that they can take a look and just maybe see how they could transform themselves through understanding their tattoos, which is really cool. So anyhow, thank you, Mark. It's a wrap. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. I just want to say to you that we are all together a part of the Mission Awake, a mission that's going to stop the mediocrity that's plaguing all of us. So if you got something here today, I ask that you would be a part of this mission and you'd share it with whoever you can. Take a screenshot of the show and share it on your Instagram. If you are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform Instagram, Alison Answers, or Lager Counseling Services. And give us a review and subscribe if you could to YouTube, Alison Answers. That's where you're going to get a lot of content. I drop stuff every day, goofy stuff, all different kinds of stuff. 5-minute videos that just get you moving in your day. Have a great week. See you next time.